Hello, my name is Devi Anastasia. This video is for second language acquisition class assignment. And the topic that I am going to explain here is environment or society influence in second language acquisition. So, second language acquisition is the process by which people learn a second language. Three types of social structure which can affect the acquisition of second language, sociolinguistic setting, specific social factors, and situational factors. Sociolinguistic setting refers to the role of second language in society. Specific social factors that can affect second language acquisition include age, gender, social class, and ethnic identity. Situational factors are those which vary between each social interaction. Okay, next, language. Let me move here. Language. Several factors related to students' first and second language shape their second language learning. These factors include the linguistic distance between them, between the two languages, students' level of proficiency in the native language and their knowledge of the second language, uh, the, the dialect of the native language spoken by the students, whether it's standard or non-standard, the relative status of the student language in the community, and societal attitudes toward the student's native language. Next is native language proficiency. So, the student's level of proficiency or ability in the native language affect acquisition of a second language, not only oral language and literacy, but also metalinguistic development, training in formal academic features of language use, and knowledge of the rhetorical patterns and variation in genre and style. The more academically sophisticated the student's native language knowledge and abilities, the easier it will be for that students to learn a second language. Next, language attitudes. Language attitudes in the learner, the peer group, the school, the neighborhood, and the society at large can have enormous or huge effect on the second language learning process, both positive and negative. It is vital that teacher and student examine, observe, and understand these attitudes. In particular, they need to understand that learning a second language does not mean giving up the first language or dialect. Rather, it involves adding a new language or a dialect into one's repertoire. And next is diverse goals. Learners' goals may determine how they use the language being learned, how native-like their pronouns will be, how lexically elaborate and grammatically accurate their utterance will be, and how much energy they will expend to understand message in the target language. Learners' goals can vary from totally integrative to desire to assimilate and become a full member of the English-speaking world, to primarily instrumental, oriented toward specific goals such as academic and professional success. Gardner, 1989. Next is peer groups. Uh, Teenagers tend to be heavily influenced by their peer group. In second language learning, peer group peer pressure often undermines the goals set by parents and teachers. Peer pressure often reduce the desire of the students to work toward native pronunciation because the sound of the target language may be regarded as strange. It is important to keep these peer influences in mind and to foster a positive image for proficiency in a second language. Next is role models. Role models. Students need to have positive and realistic role models who demonstrate the value of being proficient in more than one language. It is also helpful for students to read literature about the personal experience of people from diverse language and dialect backgrounds. Through discussions of the challenge experienced by others, students can develop a better understanding of their own challenges. And next one is home support. Home support from home is very important for successful second language learning. Some educators believe that parents of English language learners should speak English only at home. However, far more important than speaking English is that parents value both the native language and English. Communicate with their children in whichever language is most comfortable, and show support for and interest in their children's progress. And the next one is motivation and language aptitudes. According to Desi and Ryan, 1985, intrinsic motivation is related to the basic human needs for competence, autonomy, and relatedness. Intrinsically motivated activities are those that the learner engage in for their own sake because of their value, interest, and challenge. Such activity present the best possible opportunities for learning. Next is learner attitudes. Um, Learners manifest different attitudes towards the target language, the target language speaker, the target language culture, the social value of learning L2, a particular use of the target language, themselves as members of their own culture. In general, positive attitudes toward the L2, its speakers, and its culture can enhance learning, which can in turn be influenced by dyslexia. Negative attitudes can impede learning. However, if learners have a strong reason for learning, negative attitude can be positive effect. Next is age. Younger speakers are subject to peer group pressure, and they use the non-standard form used by their peer group. The middle age group is less subject to peer group pressure, and they are more influenced by mainstream social values. For older people, the social pressure lessen and social networks again become narrow. Generally, learners who learn an L2 after puberty or possibly earlier are unlikely to acquire a native speaker accent while those who begin after 15 years are less likely to develop full grammatical ability. Children are more ready to share external norms as they have not formed stereotypes of their identity. Older kids, adolescents, take learning an L2 as a threat to their identity. That may explain why adolescents are resistant to the L2 learning in an L2 setting. However, it cannot explain why adolescents progress rapidly than the younger to begin with, nor does it explain why they tend to better than middle-aged learners who ought to outperform the younger generation given their great acceptance of social norms. Next, gender. In stable sociolinguistic stratification, men use a higher frequency of non-standard forms than women, and in the majority of linguistic changes, women use higher frequency of the incoming forms than men. Women may be better language learners. They are more sensitive to the new linguistic forms and are more ready to incorporate them into their speech. Thus, they will be more likely to rid themselves of any interlanguage forms that deviate from target language norms. Females have more positive attitudes to learning an L2 than males. Female low achieving students are less likely to drop the class. They are more motivated. They have a more positive attitude toward the target language and culture. It's by Burstall 1975 and Gardner and Lambert 1972. In sum, uh, currently there are no clear-cut explanation yet as they why females outform males in L2 learning. The reason that females hold a more positive attitude seems to have been widely agreed. Male and female culture differences are also possible explanation. Females are more cooperative and more delicate in dealing with relationship, while male emphasize more maintaining their hierarchical relationship. And next is social class. Social class. Um, Individual social class is a composite determined by income level of education and occupation. Usually, it is divided into four groups: lower class, working class, lower middle class, and upper middle class. There is a relationship between social class and L2 achievement. Most of the study shows that children from lower socioeconomic groups are less successful in L2 learning than children from higher groups. It should be borne in mind that it is not socioeconomic class that produce this spike, but rather the experience of the work which the different social class are likely to have. And the next one is language classroom. Oh, I think this is the last one, and the last one is the language classroom. Language learning happen as a result of opportunities for meaningful interaction with others in the target language. Therefore, lecturing and recitation are not the most appropriate modes of language use in the second language classroom. Teachers need to move toward more richly uh, interactive language use, such as that found in instructional conversation and collaborative classroom work. And yep, this is the last one. That's it. That's all from me. I am terribly sorry for the mistakes. I hope this video is clear enough for you. Thank you for watching.